everybody. Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. I'm Matt Connarton, and of course, to my right, as per usual, is the Honorable Gary S. Hopper, looking rather dapper in your with your jacket and your blue turtleneck.
Matt, how are you?
Good.
Nice to be here.
I'm well.
I feel like I'm on the take again.
Because someone just handed you a pen?
Yeah, Dave Fine's our guest tonight, who's from the Solution News. He's kind of my I gotta careful how I say this, but he's my liberal friend, so that I just kind of show people that I'm open-minded.
Right. You're not prejudiced.
You're token liberal.
He's
my token liberal friend.
Yes.
And it's not that I'm. It's not. It's just to give the illusion that I am. I'm really not open-minded. But he just handed me a pen. So I don't know. Center for Life Management.
Yeah, my father used to work there.
Really?
Yep. Yes, he did.
So if he hands me a pen, does that mean I'm on the take?
Does he? He doesn't live in your town.
No.
Right?
No.
You're not trying to influence one of my votes.
Not at all.
I mean, because if you did, you would have to have a hamburger with you.
Well,
and that would influence my vote.
Well, I know that. We'll do that later.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Off camera, so
definitely.
So there's no real evidence.
I have to have a man in the House of Representatives of the state of New Hampshire. It's part of what
that sounded weird. You
well,
have to have a man in the House.
You know what I mean. I mean, an inside guy.
Oh, like right. I'm sorry.
Oh, so I brought Dave, because Dave's my token liberal friend. I brought something that only he would appreciate. Let's see.
What do you think, Matt? I don't know what this is going to be. Oh, jeez.
Is that nice?
This guy's knife.
Oh, wow. Oh, very nice. Oh, you betcha.
I love that.
It's a Sarah Palin Jacques knife.
It's pretty cool.
It's
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's something, all right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna reserve comment on that. But if there's anybody out there wanting to take notes to see if Gary needs to be committed, this is actually on camera. So
yeah,
I will have.
I will say this about the Sarah Palin knife. The sound of Sarah Palin's voice makes me want to stab myself. So that's I think that's a very appropriate item.
Wow, I'm outnumbered.
You betcha.
Yes.
You betcha.
Oh, I can't see that from my house. Anyway. So I was at a let's see, start with you'll love this. I was trying to figure out why I even hang around with Dave, and then he touched on it today when we were talking.
And that's why you hang around with him?
No, because the commonality we have, the reason I think we're friends is we're both basically middle-aged sex symbols.
That's true.
Right?
You're two sides of the same
Can't
coin.
deny it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some people are born rich and famous, and then there's others that just like us.
Got looks.
Yeah.
We're just blessed.
Yeah.
But
fortunately, they look the other way most of the time. But
right.
Anyway.
But they're looking somewhere.
But speaking of the sex symbol thing, I was with the grandkids on Saturday. We went up to the... I'm going to forget what lake it is. The lake, they have the Science Center, the Squam Lake Science Center.
Okay, beautiful place.
And we're walking around, and obviously, because I'm a conservative, when they said stupid liberal stuff on one of the signs, I pointed out. And then we went over to the bald eagles, and they have the mature bald eagle who's got the white feathered head, and then the immature bald eagle who's got brown feathered head. And the kid says, well, why is that? I says, well, it's just like, God made them just like humans. When you're young, I says, looked at Scotty. He says, right now you're stuck with that brown hair that you have now, but eventually you'll be super cool and you'll have white, silvery hair.
Right.
They didn't buy that. Isn't that weird?
I'm wondering what the sign was that you had to correct. Did it say keep on the grass or what?
A lot of stuff, yeah.
Right.
So you agree with that analogy?
Definitely. The older we get, the wiser we get. But if we had known what we know now, we would have set the world on fire. But instead,
probably literally more than figuratively.
Instead, we got a little candle burning every once in a while if we're lucky. So it's all good.
Youth is wasted on the young.
That's true. That's definitely true. So if you're young out there, knock yourself out. Enjoy it. Hope you have half as much fun as I did.
You mean that figuratively, knock yourself out. You don't mean like people should
just have fun. Go out there and. Mea culpa. No, it's not mea culpa. That's mea culpa means.
I don't know who the mayor is.
I'm sorry,
I thought it was Gatsis.
What's the other one?
I thought it was Gatsis.
Gatsis?
Who's the mayor?
Yes,
Oh, that's
Mayor
right.
Gatzis, yes.
Mayor
Mayor
Gatzis. I'm
Gatzis.
sorry, I didn't mean to make that mistake.
Yeah. So
So
wait, okay, so we
Yeah.
went from that. Then Monday,
yeah, you
I'll
had
get your-
something to talk about. I
No.
was wondering what it was.
No,
It's-
I got a bunch of stuff going on in my head.
Well,
It's like a little merry-go-round, and every now and again, one of the horses gets
let
lost.
it out. You know, I'm a clinical. I've done clinical work before, so you know, anything you need to say,
I
just
don't know.
put it right out there.
I don't have enough money for
I
that.
can probably help you with it.
Yeah. So I was at the. They had a St. A's. They had a seminar, basically a debate on Common Core, with a couple of the guys from the New Hampshire Board of Ed and some teacher at Derryfield, and Anne Marie Banfeld and a couple of other people were on the other side. And I was Gerard at Large was taping it live, and I was walking by before they got started, and they says, well, you know, what's your take on this? And I said, well, the federal government. Well, first I got to back up because a lot of people don't know this. You remember when the government owned the Mustang Ranch? 1999, they took it for tax problems.
Right back
Which-
in the day, yeah.
Right, and it's a house of ill repute.
In Nevada, that
Nevada.
was legal in Nevada.
Yeah.
Right. States' rights.
Right. So
Okay.
I said the federal government telling the town of Ware how to run its school is like Bill Belichick calling in plays from the Mustang Ranch.
Okay.
No, you don't.
No,
That's a great analogy.
Well,
That's a wicked good analogy in my brain.
That's why I got the pen, so I could write this down and go home and figure out what the hell you're talking about. I'm glad I got the pen, man.
Yes,
Thanks
it's a good
for sending
idea,
me
yeah.
out. But that's all good. That's you threw mixed a lot of things in that analogy. Belichick and House of Ill Repute and.
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
that,
I got
but-
everything. I get you sports,
You
and,
did
and
you covered the bases, but I think it probably did this to a lot of people that didn't get the reference.
it doesn't matter. It
called-
it humored me.
In the lingo of
You don't understand. So you don't understand, Dave. A lot of the stuff I say,
you don't know.
If I get a kick out of it,
Yeah.
that's all that counts.
That's all that matters.
That's it. That's
well,
it.
in the lingo of the clinical world, which I reside,
Yes.
that's called disassociative thought. And most people, it's just a thought. It doesn't come out of their mouth.
Right.
In your case, it just pops right out.
Not everyone has a filter.
And but the thing is, you can entertain yourself and others and not even
Yes.
realize it. And
Yeah,
that's
I know.
That's the good part.
I know it is a really
Because
good
it's
thing.
good for the world.
It is.
Everybody needs a smile once in a while and a laugh, right from the belly. Wherever,
They won't get
or
it.
whatever.
They won't get it watching this show, but whatever.
they might today. This will be the get to the point show. What are we talking about today?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it does matter.
Now,
Yeah.
something we talked about the other day, which is something I wanted to touch on, was before I get to there's another news article that I wanted to talk about. I'll get your opinion.
Yeah.
And this is where I probably cross swords with. Cross swords means conflict, right?
Yes.
Yes, it would.
Okay, it wouldn't be in unison. Okay, so cross swords with some of the libertarians. And it leads into our next conversation. Chipotle, is that
Chipotle. Yeah,
Chipotle restaurant?
Yeah, one
Just-
of my favorites.
Yeah, and me too. It was. They just passed a rule in their stores nationwide. They will not allow people with firearms in the store, unless you're a police officer. The genesis of this was, I believe it was in Texas, and there's a picture on CNN Business News of a couple of guys with AR-15s in the store with the AR-15s hanging down by their side. And they were asked to leave, and then the company felt obligated to make a policy in regards to this. And it was, to me, although I believe everybody has the right to bear arms, some people shouldn't own toasters. What kind of you got to be almost brain dead to think that that's a really great idea.
Right.
I mean, it'd be one thing if you have something on your hip because you just came from a shooting competition or something, whatever. But to come in with AR-15s, it's not that difficult to lock it in the trunk before you get there.
Right.
I think the business overreacted and could have said we will not allow open carry in our stores because we don't want our customers being uncomfortable. That makes sense. But I just thought it's you get these people that are just have to push things to the point where somebody has to make a choice. Yeah. And it's ignorant. It's not necessary. It doesn't help. It doesn't help the Second Amendment effort.
Right. Exactly.
Right. And you and I had this conversation earlier today about how the people on either sides of these things make it impossible to come to the middle because the extremes get the attention, and the sensible idea gets lost in the shuffle.
Very true.
I believe in the right to bear arms also very strongly, and I think that. But I also, just because you have a right, doesn't mean that you have to take it to. For example, I have a right to free speech, but that does not mean I'm going to be like one of these church idiots that's out there calling gay people, that they're going to go to hell and being at the soldiers that they're burying, and they're out there protesting because
the Baptist,
they have
Westboro Baptist,
and they have just because you have a right to do something doesn't mean that you have to do it to the extreme.
Right.
And that's exactly why would you walk in? What do you need it in Chipotle for? What are you going to shoot the what do you call it? My favorite herb there.
I think they handled it wrong. If I was the manager there,
right,
I would have known that these guys are idiots. They obviously don't mean any harm.
They're idiots.
They're pretty close to brain dead.
The semi-automatic weapons.
Right.
They're idiots.
Yeah, but
it's not like they came in and they stole the ketchup or something.
Right. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Maybe
if I was the manager,
wait.
But if somebody tried to steal ketchup, these guys could shoot them.
Stop it.
Right. Yeah. Right. And that's a good reason for having an AK-47 in a Chipotle
AR-15s
or whatever they are. A gun's a gun to me.
But anyway, what I think they should have done is the owner should have, let them order the sandwich or whatever it is, and just load it up with, what are those wicked hot peppers? The ghost peppers? Habaneros. Just load it up. Yeah. And then when they come back, this is terrible. Says, oh, sorry, we were a little bit nervous when we were making it.
Right.
Maybe if you leave your AR-15 in your frickin' vehicle, moron.
Right. I think we're in agreement there. That's a great story that you pulled out of the news. I
think we have a call. Should we grab this?
Yeah.
Grab this call?
I'm gonna probably get yelled at.
Probably. You've upset someone.
I've upset somebody.
Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who is this? And are you upset with Gary?
Probably my mother.
My mother.
Oh, my name's Kev.
Hi, Kev.
Hi, Kev.
How you doing?
All right. What's up?
Good.
You guys need to, explore the possibility that there could be some Second Amendment people that are against the Second Amendment. And
I know
they would definitely bring negative attention on purpose in a public place to put a negative connotation on the Second Amendment and people just being stupid like you were talking about. Like, are they dumb? Do they not know what they're doing? No, I got a feeling that just like when Anonymous and everybody marched on the federal buildings, that the cops were in their kind of clothes trying to start a physical riot so that it could go down. So, there's a lot of covert stuff that's going on.
I love conspiracy theorists. They must spend
No.
They stay up all night long coming up with this stuff.
Yeah, but
it's
that's
amazing to me.
I can prove what I'm saying.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
wait, Dave.
Yeah.
Let me add some credence to what he's saying.
Yeah.
I will tell you that Dave Wheeler and the New Hampshire Firearms Coalition, NHFC, many of the people in the legislature believe that if you dug down deep, you'd find out that they were adverse to the Second Amendment. And their way of attacking it is just by attacking anybody that's pro-Second Amendment by exposing their nuanced votes. Do you know what I mean? In other words, they've attacked Marilyn Garcia, they've attacked me, they've attacked I don't know how many good Republicans, conservative, pro-Second Amendment Republicans, not based on a major vote like they voted against the Second Amendment, but because they didn't vote for, like in my case, I didn't amend a bill the way they wanted it that would have allowed 30-06s to be pointed out the window with a round in the chamber. I compromised, and that wasn't good enough. Yeah. So a lot of people think those people are actually against the Second Amendment, and I disagree in this case. I think these people are just morons.
Yeah.
But I think it's very highly...
I know. They're definitely not smart enough to have the view against Second Amendments, want to take our guns away from the people, right? Disarm America.
Right.
And the last thing that they would do is walk in with AR strapped to themselves into a vegetarian restaurant.
They actually have
they're
meat
dummies, right?
Yeah.
I totally think that people miss the seriousness of the point of taking the guns away from the people.
No, I totally get it.
The changes in the laws, the suspension of our Constitution, there's so much going on. Obama has more scandals going on than anybody could ever focus on.
Go.
So
Here we go.
I don't want to get too lost in the weeds, so I'm gonna shut you off. But
Appreciate
thanks
your
for the
call.
call.
All right.
That's a great.
Thanks,
lost
Kev.
in the weeds.
Here's-
I get it, and I actually, to a large degree, I agree with him.
Here's a point. If I could just have 1 minute to say this out loud.
Can we talk about my Sarah Palin knife again?
We could, but
Anyway,
here's
kinda
what
already did,
here's
right?
what I think is messed up. I can walk into the State House with a gun on, and I can walk up to the chambers and watch Gary working down on the floor.
No, you can't.
No?
There's no open carry in the State House anymore.
Oh, I thought you passed that law.
No,
Not you,
no,
personally.
It's not a law.
Yeah.
It's a rule.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay. So here's my
And that was because again we had the moronic group of people who felt it was a really smart idea to go up into the balcony with weapons open in the balcony when we were voting on a bill in the legislature, which made a lot of Democrats really, really nervous.
Yeah, I would be.
I mean, I was pretty comfortable because I was in the Republican section.
Right.
That's why Terry Norelli mixed us up this year.
You just hope they NRA members that had a good marksmanship course, you know.
In the
guys in the balcony that they really know how to shoot, because you could be sitting next to a Democrat.
No, I wasn't even that close.
But at any rate, but here's on a more serious note, and then I'll try not to be serious.
All right.
I'm all in favor of the state spending money to help people that are mentally ill and that are substance abusers that need help and not going to jail.
Right.
And the state steadfastly refuses to do anything of a social nature to spend the money, because there is no money, because the state won't make the hard decision of how we're going to get money in this state, because we don't want to mess with the third rail, which is no taxes. Anyway,
right.
So there's no money. So if I have a friend that needs treatment and they want to go to the Farnham Center, they have to wait 30 days. When somebody wants treatment, they have about 30 minutes before they change their mind, and it's not working. So we need money in the Health and Human Services area of the state, and we can't get it.
Right.
And so what happens is crazy stuff happens. Cops get shot. People die. Manchester's turned into a war zone because of mental illness and drugs. Drugs underlie all the social problems in America right now, all of them, not just some of them, all of them. And here we go, and now these guys up there are deciding it's okay to carry a handgun in the State House. And I've been in the Senate chamber, which I love, it's beautiful, and you can go up there and sit. And these guys are voting that it's okay to have a gun in the State House, in the rule or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And they're not supporting mental health. And what's going to happen is some crazy person who's not been able to obtain services in the state of New Hampshire, because of that kind of way out thinking that we're not going to support that, and some nutcase is going to. There's only 15 people in that room, right?
Right.
Yeah. How long does it take with an automatic weapon to kill 15 people?
Okay. First of all, I obviously disagree with you.
I know that. I got the soapbox out a little bit there, but
no, I let you go on.
Go ahead. Yeah.
And that's why
I said a minute,
and
I
that's why I hate you.
I lied. Yeah.
Yeah, I fundamentally disagree. I think, first of all, the automatic weapon comment is technically incorrect.
Okay.
Very, very rarely is anybody in the United States. I don't even know when the last time anybody was killed with an automatic weapon.
Okay.
Automatic weapons have been regulated by the federal government since I think the 30s.
Okay.
In the 70s, they passed. What they did is to get around the Constitution. They said if you have an automatic weapon, or short-barreled rifle, or a sawed-off shotgun, and there's probably another list somewhere, but just to keep it simpler, you had to have a stamp with it, a federal stamp, a $200 stamp. Okay.
Yep.
Up until the 70s, when they said, okay, we're not issuing any more stamps, the price of fully automatic weapons that you're referring to went through the roof. I had the opportunity, except I had children and I couldn't do it, to get the parts to make a fully automatic 30 carbine. And I think it was for $800. But I had children, so I didn't have $800. That's probably worth $8,000 to $10,000 right now. Okay, people, drug dealers and stuff like that, or people that are mentally problems.
Unstable.
They don't have $15,000 or $30,000 to buy fully automatic weapons. So
Okay.
that statement is technically incorrect.
Okay.
I understand the
Stand corrected.
the premise behind it, and the argument against that would be, again, you have in the same news cycle as the idiots that go into the store with AR-15s. You had a store, I forget what store, restaurant it was, that had a big sign, special made sign, said no guns allowed. So they get robbed at gunpoint. Why? They got robbed at gunpoint because people who are going to do stuff like this really don't care what the laws are.
Right.
They don't. They're obviously either, like you said, most of it is drugs.
Yeah.
Some people I know are really mentally screwed up and got nothing to do with drugs, but most of them it's drugs.
Right.
And they don't care what the law is. If they get mad at the senators and stuff like that, it's really not going to make any difference. The only possible way of you recovering from that is if somebody else in the audience is also likewise armed and can stop them quickly, which happens in Israel all the time.
But don't you think it would make sense to have metal detectors when you walk through the door
No,
of the State
I don't know.
House? To me, it's
I think-
amazing. I mean, I love the access. I love that I can walk up to I met the governor yesterday. She wasn't surrounded by guys with things in their ear. She was just there.
Right.
I met Jean Shaheen the same way in a parking lot. She wasn't surrounded by. I love the access that we have in the state of New Hampshire.
And
It's
as
one of the
soon
things
as
I
you
love
put up
about-
metal detectors and
Right.
stuff like that, the whole attitude's going to change.
Right.
Now, does that mean that somebody might not go nuts and do something? No, but if you want to live in a free society, you have to allow certain possibilities.
That's the risk you take.
The risk you take. If you want to live in a completely, I don't know what you call
like
it.
Israel, closed down, secure,
Yeah,
cops on every corner.
Right, with
Yeah,
Uzis and
movie cameras
AK-47s and stuff like
I,
that,
I'm hearing you.
all over the place.
I get you.
Yes, we could do that, but I don't want to live there.
But there's a middle ground somewhere, right, Gary? Here we
Yeah.
are talking about the middle ground.
We were talking about the middle ground, and this is one reason Dave came on tonight. What I wanted to talk about is the actually the reason Dave came out is Charlene Craig was supposed to be on tonight with her friends from the beauty pageant
Yes.
that we have on a couple times a
Yeah,
year, and she's a lot prettier than you.
I know. And it's just to know, I'm the second choice tonight.
Yes.
Always coming in
Well,
second.
you weren't third.
Well, that's true.
Well, there you go.
But I couldn't do much about the beauty pageant thing. We were
No,
we were
she-
going to try. Gary and I were going to try and kind of fake it and
Yeah?
maybe fool people that we knew what we were talking about.
No, we talked about our being sex symbols. That was about it.
Yeah. That was it.
But
What were we talking about?
so the one thing that Matt and I were talking about with a guest we had a while ago after the show, and he was talking about I don't want to explain it because he did it off camera for a reason.
Yeah.
But there was a program that was fixable in Washington, D.C., a federal program that was easily fixable in Washington, D.C., okay?
Right.
And when the Republicans took over, they were full of, pea and vinegar
Right.
about fixing all kinds of stuff.
Right.
Well, then, all of a sudden, the opponents, the proponents of this, or the opponents of this, started shoving money into the Republican coffers to fix it. And then it became apparent that if they fixed it, they would lose that source of income. And so they didn't. And that's, to me, what really bothers me, is every time we have an issue that's huge, the Republican Democratic parties exploit it to get as much money and to make it as much of a row about it, to get as much money from their contributors as possible. And then they don't do anything about it because then the money would go away.
And therein is a big part of the gridlock, and the fact that one of the things I believe is that the problems of this country are increasing at a rate much greater than the government's ability to handle them.
Well, they
and
won't,
it's
like,
because they don't. Do they really want to solve problems, or do they want to put money in their pockets?
And that's the deal.
That's the contradiction of capitalism, or one of them. And it's like, it's you and I. It's funny. We would, people on the left and people on the right would be marching together. When it comes to, and in total agreement. I wrote on Facebook that I was going to be on TV tonight, and the only thing that we had in common is that we're both friends, that we like each other. But that's not really true. We have a lot more than that in common.
The sex symbol thing.
Well,
Right, yes, and that's really what binds
we
people
both
together.
fish,
Yes.
and we both have gray hair. But other than that, I find every time I get into discussions, and I have, one of the things is I'm greatly outnumbered among our friends,
Right.
in terms of political beliefs. I'm a Massachusetts unabashed liberal, and actually I would say calling me a liberal is almost an insult, but when Bernie Sanders is my favorite senator, I'm more of a socialist than a liberal.
When you're here, I get to not be the most liberal guy in the room
Right,
on the
that's
show.
true, and I do, and it always
Matt's the one who asked me to invite you.
right, it always feels good to make somebody's life a little bit easier.
Right.
That's what our liberals are like, tree huggers and touchy-feely,
Yeah.
kind of, guys. But and I'm glad I can do that, Matt. And anytime,
yes.
just call me up. I'll show up. Gary's paying me $1, tonight. So,
Oh, wow.
and so, but I think we would be in agreement. So many people in this country. One thing that people in this country agree with is that the Senate and the House of Representatives has a lower favorability rating than used car salesmen, and I don't want to denigrate used car salesmen by putting them in the same category as our
Maybe if
as
we
our
use lawyers,
legislators.
it wouldn't be as offensive.
Well, I have friends that are lawyers, and they get offended when I make lawyer jokes, so I try not to.
Oh, really?
But it's like, everything's politically correct now. You can't even make a good lawyer joke anymore. And
Really?
Somebody's
I do.
taking it personally, But anyway, we are in total agreement about that point. It was we are in fact changing the deck chairs on the Titanic every election. We're shuffling things around and nothing's getting done. I unashamedly, I'm probably the greatest Obama supporter in the country.
At least in this room.
I put my own personal business. Listen, put my own personal business and my own personal life on hold for 3 months for the first election, working for free, 18 hours, working harder than I've worked since the '60s, to have that man elected.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing for the re-election.
Right.
And I am reaping the benefits because my wife, who has never been able to afford insurance, can go have a mammogram. And if that's the only reason I did all that work, then it was a successful experience for me.
Okay.
And so that's how strongly I feel about that. However, the man might as well be Houdini in terms of the shackles and handcuffs that have been put on him by the system, which from day one has said we're not going to do anything that makes him look good.
Right.
Nothing. It didn't work. He got reelected. And what's going to happen is, and people are going to hate it, but I think I might be able to successfully live out the rest of my life with Democrats in the White House. I know that we're not going to have a Republican in 2016. I would bet my house on it. It's not going to happen. There's nobody out there. All Obama has to do is snap his fingers, and that whole network of this remarkable, and I worked in it, system is ready to go. We're ready to, like he says, fired up and ready to go. Hillary, absolutely. Why not?
I'm skeptical.
We kicked Bill Clinton and Barack Obama's machines in gear. The Republicans are a laughing stock now. They can't get their act together. I mean, Ted Cruz comes. He's their hero now.
Well, yeah, that is.
What's he going to get?
I'm with you there.
20% of the vote, maybe. What?
We got to call
We
it.
do have a call, yeah.
Good. We've got the conservative rile up.
Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
Hi, Matt. This is Pat.
Hi,
Hi,
Pat.
Pat.
How you doing?
Good.
Good night.
I'm listening to Gary and your guest,
Mhm.
and I just wanted to kind of put a couple of comments across the board there. I don't know whether they'll agree with me or not, but I think a lot of this gun stuff, what they're saying is very true. If you're going to do something that is illegal, there'll be a way for you to do it. But I think most people don't need an AK-47.
Right.
And I think, some of the laws there should be toughened up. I admit, I'm a single person, and, I live in a house, and if somebody came in, broke into my house, I would want a way to defend myself.
Yeah.
And I can see why people say, yeah, I've got a family, I've got kids. If somebody's threatening me, what am I going to do? And so a handgun, I don't object to that at all. But I'm just saying that there's got to be some middle ground here. These guys that walked into that place with these weapons, somebody should have called the cops on them right away.
Right.
Not ignore it.
Yeah,
And,
I don't know that it was or was not ignored. I actually didn't finish reading the article long enough.
Oh, you didn't?
No,
Yeah,
I perused it. I put it on Facebook, and then I called the Manchester Chipotle to find out if that was accurate, and they said yes, it is.
And it did happen, right?
Well, I know what happened, and I double checked with the Manchester one to make sure that it was true that nationally the corporation said no more firearms in the on the premises unless you're a police officer.
Yeah, right. I agree. And the other thing you were talking about with your guest is Congress. It just seems to be people have given up because you know what happens. Once you get in there, you can promise the world, but you are going to be, kind of in debt to the people that put you in there. And they could be large corporations like GM or Ford or you name it.
Or the Ford Foundation. Or yeah, keep going.
Pardon me?
No, I agree with your statement, but we keep saying large corporations when both sides are beholden to large groups.
I agree with
Right.
you.
It's not
I'm not
not like
saying one party or another.
right.
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
But, the thing is, as well as I know, once you get in there, it's a game. And it's, to me, no matter what we do as far as voters, whether we vote Democratic, Republican, there's going to be that system there, Gary,
Yeah.
that's going to exist. And it continues to exist.
It's
And
that
there's
it only
no way, there's no way, because any ordinary citizen, answer my question if you could, any Joe on the street, could they vote, if they had the qualifications, to be president? Could they run, to be president and get elected?
nope.
God, no.
Absolutely.
Absolutely not.
It's
No,
very
that's
very
the
rarely.
problem.
Those people are picked.
Ordinary person won't run. Somebody who's an honest guy that'll get in there and maybe stand up and say no.
All right,
We're
Pat.
not taking your money,
Pat, I got to let you go because we got to. You brought up 2 points, and we're going to discuss each of them in a second.
Okay.
But
the other thing I wanted you to do is read Michael Moore's books. They're very insightful. They're very interesting, and he's got a good handle on some of things. Not everything.
Gary doesn't know how to read
guys.
those.
All right. Thank you, Pat.
I got a quick one on that. I know you're the host, but I got it. That's my best material. And
go ahead.
Here's what should happen, Pat. I don't know if you're familiar with NASCAR, but in NASCAR, all the drivers have patches all over their uniforms of the companies that own them. I think that our senators and our congressmen should be required to do the same thing.
Yep.
And they should dress in a NASCAR uniform, and it would say the pharmaceutical industry,
Right.
the insurance companies.
So you know who owns them.
So you know who owns
Yeah,
them.
I've been
so
saying
when
that for years,
when
yeah.
they're voting on the bill, you understand why they're in favor of prescription drugs not having any control or
Right.
or whatever
The
they're.
Oxycontin.
That's right,
Yeah.
the whole deal. So, I think that that's a big part of the solution, and I think we could make a constitutional amendment to require them to do that.
Right.
So we should.
Well, it's
So-
like I always say, it's you're not really voting for someone to represent you. You're voting for whatever set of special interest groups and lobbyists and corporate donors and all that person.
Exactly.
What is it? Mark Twain said that if voting made any difference, they wouldn't let us do it.
I've never heard that one.
I
but
love
that's
that,
good.
Gary.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
See, I read something.
I
Yeah.
love that. No Michael Moore, but you've read
No,
the Mark Twain.
right,
That's
right,
good,
right.
yeah.
But it's a system of legalized bribery, really.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say this. A couple of things. One is you're absolutely right. When we had Bob Smith on here earlier this year, I mentioned, because I'm supporting Karen Testerman. I told Karen last summer that I would support her. I still have no reason not to support her. I think she's one of those people that, if elected, would be honest, okay, and would not be in the tank for anybody except for what she believed was right. But anyway, Bob Smith announced after Karen did, and he came on the show, and I told the audience then that I had a friend from Ware who had a business where they did contracting, military contracting. And Bob Smith was the only delegate to the federal government, the only one that he could schedule a meeting, sit down and have a meeting with him without his checkbook open. That was 4 Republican delegates to the United States Congress from New Hampshire, and out of the 4, only one of them was not on the take.
Wow.
Okay? And that includes Bass, that includes Greg.
Right.
And I know that as a Republican, I'm not supposed to say anything bad, but it's BS.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it doesn't matter which party,
Yep.
Right.
you know.
Right,
and but you're right, Pat. When you got time, what was it? What was the Russian that came over here? He defected over here. He wrote the Gulag.
Solzhenitsyn.
Yeah, Alexander Solzhenitsyn did a speech. I think it was a commencement speech at Harvard University. I think it was in the late 70s or early 80s. You can find it online. And he talked about the fact in that speech. It's really good. I disagree with a lot of them because he's also a communist. But
Also, wait a minute.
oh, sorry. I can't say that.
You must be talking about Matt.
Yeah. So he talks about the inability for anybody of actual integrity to ever become elected in the United States.
Right.
For that very reason, because if they're of decent character, the parties that be, which is what we're talking about, the big Republican, big Democrat party, they're not going to let him in because he's going to, like, for instance, immigration. I don't know a lot about immigration. I know it's a big issue in New Hampshire because we got to keep the French from coming here. But did I say that out loud? I got to watch it. Okay, I don't know why. It's a big issue for some Republicans, even in New Hampshire, even though it's not really a huge issue here.
Right.
But I'm willing to bet there is a very logical, methodical way to take care of the issue. But guess who would lose all their money? The Democrats would lose the money who are from the people who are not in favor of immigration reform. The Republicans would lose the money from the people who are adamantly for immigration reform. So nothing's going to be done. Why is it going to be done? There's no money in solving problems.
Right.
That's such a good point. And now that
He agreed with me on something.
and
He
yeah,
did,
we
yes.
agree.
We-
and
well,
now
all
that
three
we
of us
are,
agree on this.
now that we all agreed, and it's somewhat, I've been enjoying the political conversation tonight. It's been really great, and I know that's the nature of your program, basically. However, I am your guest, and I had a couple things I want to talk about. If just real quick, not that I haven't already sucked the oxygen out of this room, but
yeah, right.
But I want to mention a couple events. First
Okay.
of all, I'd like to say I'm going to have a show soon called
June 3rd.
June 3rd.
Well, June 30th is taping.
Oh,
taping.
June 30th is taping.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
it's
we don't
more
know the air date
more to be announced. And the name of the show is going to be The Solution News. And this is the Solution News is a newspaper that I've been publishing for 22 years in South Florida for people recovering from addictions. And so we're going to have the show based on, it's going to be an umbrella of all kinds of self-improvement. People that are massage therapists, perhaps nutritionists, anybody.
Oh, maybe I could come on. I'm a
Anybody,
hypnotist.
anybody, hypnotists, anybody who's doing things that help people have a more positive lifestyle. So that's the idea of the program.
It's kind of a spin-off because you were on here first.
Yes, it
So
is a
it's like-
spin-off. It's Gary's first
It's
spin-off.
like you're Laverne and Shirley to our happy days.
Exactly right. We
Right.
could call it that Laverne and Shirley solution. And so I appreciate. So I.
Well,
so I
now,
wanted to-
wait.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a half hour, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I go on your show, I get 50 cents?
Well, 50 cents and maybe 10 minutes
Oh,
because it's my show.
yeah.
Jeez, wow.
I know, right?
You
I
know.
think we've already let him go over this.
You have
gone to
absolutely
his
today. Today you have, and I thank
Power is just amazing.
and I thank you for that.
Now you know what happens really in Congress. You know,
He'd be
First-
good in Washington.
Yeah, he would be.
If he got paid by the word, I'd be a rich man.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that I'm on a committee that puts on an event, and this year it's going to be on September 16th at the New Hampshire Institute of Art, and it's called Inspired Recovery. And it's a hell of a good time. We have great food, we have entertainment, music.
When's that?
September the 16th. Put it
Okay.
on your calendar. It's a Friday night.
When we get closer, you got to remind me.
I
and
definitely
come
will.
back on for.
Oh,
I'll let you have like 5 minutes.
Well, I'll have a couple.
because I can't afford the buck every time.
I know, but I'll have a couple people that are more involved in the promotional end of this event. But it's
Are they better looking?
It's a terrific. Yes, it's a terrific. It doesn't take much. At any rate, that's going to be on the 16th, and I just do want to mention that. Keep your eyes and ears open. And then there's a couple organizations right now, recoverynewhampshire.com on the internet. It's an organization that supports treatment and recovery issues in the state. And another one is called New Futures, which is new with a dash futures.org. And those websites are there to help people who need help with addiction and addiction problems. So that's really all I wanted to get in today, and except to say that we still are stepping over the bodies of young people who are dying from heroin overdoses. And
We just had a funeral. Was it 3 weeks ago?
that's it. So
22-year-old girl.
yeah,
Heroin.
heroin overdose. So it's epidemic. The governor addressed this yesterday at Pinkerton Academy and at a seminar in the morning, and she's on board to get some money. But like everything else, it's money. Everybody's handcuffed in this state because we don't have any money. And
You know what? Something you said on the phone that was just striking to me.
yeah,
And I bet you it's true more often than not with politicians. And that was because every time I explained to you that every time I hear Mary Hassan talk, it's almost robotic.
right.
It's just insincere and robotic. And you said that
I said that she was prepared. She had notes. She obviously didn't have the information at hand. Somebody had told her about the statistics and the things, and she was very good at that. She had a couple times when she wasn't quite sure and you knew she didn't know what she was anyway, but she went off script for about 5 minutes, and it was absolutely moving. And she talked really about how nobody really in this state doesn't know somebody that has felt the pain of addiction and the suffering from addiction, and that we're all in this thing together in terms of trying to help. The state can only do so much. We have not-for-profit organizations, private individuals, 12-step programs, and we all need to be aware of this for each other and put out our hand and help one another, because the state can't solve all the problems of the world, and there is really no money here. So I felt that was heartfelt. It wasn't scripted. She wasn't reading it. I was sitting in such a place that I could see her getting ready to come on stage and reading her notes. I even took a couple pictures of that while the gentleman was introducing her. And I had never met her. I met her. She was very warm when I met her and talked just for a moment.
You mean like temperature-wise? She's not dead.
No, I mean she was
98.6.
Whatever, she and I'd not met her, and I felt it's so good to be able to walk up. I was in Florida, man. You couldn't get near the governor or anybody that had anything to do with politics. So it was just, it made me feel glad that I live in this state.
I was going to hire a bodyguard myself, be it as important.
You need one. Some of the things you've said today, I'm surprised. You might need help getting out to your car.
Actually, though, I want to compliment you, Gary, on saying Maggie Hassan's last name correctly, because most Republicans I've noticed pronounce it Hassan, which I assume is to make her sound Muslim or something.
Right.
But you actually say her last name correctly.
You're
the only Republican I know who says her last name.
You missed that talking point the other day.
Wow.
Yeah. But
she upset me though, because remember when I lost my seat as chairman, on her Facebook page she said those something about those brave Republicans. We owe a debt of gratitude to those Republicans who stood up to whatever.
Yeah.
And so I messaged her on Facebook. I says, well, this is while she's running for office. I says, do you feel indebted enough to show up on my program? She goes, yeah, contact my press person. Mm-hmm. Tried that 2 or 3 times. She never came on the show.
Right.
Really?
Right.
They don't do that. That's what I see. That's what I think we're totally lacking. That 5 minutes of reality that you saw in Maggie is what we really need in politicians.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? If a Democrat politician isn't willing to come into this show, I mean, there's some shows they shouldn't do because they're obviously rigged to like, if you listen to some of the talk shows, they just attack.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't show up for that either, because that's just why it doesn't gain anybody anything except ratings. But they should be willing to come on and just off the cuff say what they think.
Yeah.
Instead of being afraid that they're gonna, say some word out of line is gonna be thrown across.
I don't think it's even that they're afraid as much as these guys have handlers, and the handlers say, "Don't go on that show." Gary's a conservative,
crazy right wing,
wingnut, and see, here's I hate this stuff, because it's like you and I we're joking about this, and I put left meets right when we're together, but I long for the days of Gore Vidal and William F. Buckley sitting there having an intelligent conversation and learning from each other, agreeing not to agree, but maybe changing their view a little on this one or on that one, like when you and I talk. And we long for that, but people are afraid. They're afraid because if I said something today, you could take this thing that we're doing, I'm going to take the CD, and you could chop a thing that I said. And if I were a famous person, you could say, Dave Fine said this. And that's all people know, because it's totally out of context.
Right.
Most people don't even understand what in context and out of context even means because of the education system in this country.
You're absolutely right. I've seen quotes from Obama taken out of context a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like his speech in Egypt when he was right after he was first elected. Yeah. I actually listened to the speech because I kept seeing these excerpts taken out, and that's not what he said.
Right.
And it's
Yeah, both sides do it. I saw a lot of it in both directions
Oh,
during
yeah,
the
it's
2012
both
absolutely.
election.
sides.
Yeah.
I was
Absolutely.
listening to National Propaganda Radio,
Right.
and they were doing a story just recently on, I forget what the story was about, honestly, but they made the statement, they were talking about Glasgow, Scotland.
Right.
They made the statement that the reason for this problem is Glasgow, Scotland, or they were talking about the mortality rate is very low. It's like the average is like 56 or something like that. Most men die by the time they're 56 in Glasgow, something like that. And it's really low. And so they said, and it's no coincidence that Glasgow, Scotland's one of the poorest cities in the European Union. As if one is the cause of the other.
Yeah, right.
And it isn't.
Right.
It has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with the fact that in that area in Scotland, during the, I think it was the early 1900s, every time like this flu epidemic came through, it would wipe out all the healthy kids. The kids who were hyper allergic, hyperimmune systems,
Yeah.
they survived.
Right.
Okay, so that kept happening and happened generation after generation. The only kids reaching maturity were kids with hyperactive immune systems. That same hyperactive immune system that kept them alive kills them when they're about 56 years old,
Interesting.
because it's heart attack. It's like if you look at my knuckles.
Amazing. Your amazing knowledge is like
Yeah.
that's
But
crazy.
That's not the point.
I
The-
understand
The
your
point
point you're
is,
trying to make.
and it's on both on Fox, it's on
Right.
NPR, it's
Exactly.
everywhere. They give people conclusions that aren't correct because they know nobody's going to double check it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and also we live in a world nowadays where if it is fact checked, and if somebody's like or one of our callers is going to say, "Oh, the fact checkers made that up because it's not true," Then-
Right.
Because even if you say the sky is blue, they're going to say no. Rush Limbaugh is going to say it is not. It's green.
Right.
Because I said it on the EIB network, which is by the way, I'm sure you tuned off of that long enough to go to the what did you call my favorite station? NPR.
National Propaganda Radio.
Right. And so I don't know how you got over there. Does your car radio go to that station?
No, what I do is because it's almost like a bipolar thing.
Yeah.
I just flip back and forth
Right.
between Rush
Yeah, right.
and National Propaganda Radio, and I almost get whiplash. It's,
That's true.
and then eventually I shut the whole thing off because I'm so aggravated by
Very
both of them.
entertaining.
Yeah.
I put on classic rock when that happens to me. It just takes me back to the good old days.
Dave, we're out of time.
Hey, it's been you
Hey.
know how fast time goes when I'm with you. I don't know what it is.
That's the medication I put in your drink.
I'm not drinking
Has
anything.
a time
tonight.
distortive effect.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So anyway, come back. Come back before that, but September before that event, make sure you come on with
Oh.
somebody or bring somebody
I'll
better
have
looking.
some folks for you. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
not too difficult. And talk about the event before September. So
Definitely will
because
do.
nobody's going to remember by then.
No,
including
we don't
me.
remember, but we do have these things where we can put things in our phones.
You have one of
guys
those.
have
I
to-
don't have an Obama phone.
Well,
Sure.
there we
Hey,
go.
we'll see you next week,
Yeah,
folks.
thanks a
Bye,
lot,
everybody.
guys.
Thank you.